I stand before you today
to announce my candidacy
for president.
For president.
For president of the United States.
President of the United States of America.
As candidates jump into the 2020 presidential campaign, history has already been made. So far, 6 women have announced their candidacies, the most in history by a long shot. It's a new wave in American politics. But what does that really mean for these old gender tropes? In the 2018 midterms, a record-breaking number of women were elected to the legislative branch. But a presidential election is different. When a woman decides to run for president, there are several factors that affect the way voters perceive her, solely because she's a woman.
We know that when men run for executive office, they get the benefit, and when women run, they get the doubt.
There are higher barriers for women who seek the role in the executive branch, who are looking to be the decider.
There are differences in public perceptions of executive office and legislative office when it comes to gender. And especially for the presidency, an office that has been dominated entirely by men, women who run for that office have to both prove that they can meet those traditionally masculine expectations while also meeting voters' expectations of their gender.
2016 saw the first female candidate of a major political party. But, and this may come as a surprise to you, Americans have still never seen a successful model for a female presidential candidate. What Americans did get exposure to was the media's double standard in coverage.
Is that the American people are sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails.
Thank you. Me too.
There are topics that come up frequently in election cycles for all candidates, but the implications for women are starker, like likability.
For women, likability is crucial. We know from our research that voters will not support a woman if they don't like her, even if they believe she's qualified, but they will support a man that they don't like if they believe that he's qualified.
And 2020 is no different. In a 2018 Politico article, Warren was called cold and aloof.
Let's go.
And the first question that Gillibrand was asked after she announced her run was,
pretty likable, a nice person. Is now, how much is it a selling point?
And there's the sheer repetition of the coverage around women that men just do not face.
Not only does that chip away at the women candidates' credibility, it also impairs their ability to talk about important issues and policies.
Senator Amy Klobuchar has already been hit with wall-to-wall coverage after HuffPost reported that she mistreated staffers.
The staff thinks she's a terrible boss.
Criticism that she's a tough boss.
Klobuchar was a tough boss.
Tough boss to work for.
Whether we're talking about toughness or abuse.
The coverage of that story inherently is not sexist to say, look, a candidate is treated their staff incorrectly. But there is a responsibility for us as consumers of the information as well as media in reporting the information to note that the reaction that people will have to mean women is different than they would have to mean men, bad bosses that are men. Just as we have different reactions to unethical behavior by men, because unfortunately we expect that to be the case more so than we do with women.
That's because of the ethical pedestal that women are put on by society.
Women are inherently believed to be more honest, more trustworthy, and more moral than men, which can be an advantage. However, if they're even accused of any kind of wrongdoing or any kind of dishonesty is implied, it's a lot harder for women to climb back up onto that pedestal and recover.
That's why, for a story like Klobuchar's, mention of her managerial style is in nearly every article about her, whether it's about that or not.
I will tell you what I think.
On the other hand, the candidates are harnessing these tropes and flipping them on their head.
I'm running for president because that's what girls do.
Women are sort of casting those expectations aside, and they're showing who they are as human beings and as people, and not trying as much to hew on the likability tightrope.
Time will tell whether voters and the media are ready for a female presidential candidate.
For years and years, we've heard people say, oh, I would vote for a woman, just not her. And now we already have a slate of highly qualified women to choose from. that excuse will be a lot harder to hide behind in this cycle.